Okay. Very good afternoon to all of you. Yesterday we had covered Paleolithic period. So I hope that much is clear to all of you. Okay. So first today we'll start with answer writing. Okay. I'm introducing you to answer writing, and then we'll go ahead with our topic. Just take out yesterday's handout number 1. This can be an easy question. Describe the significant features of Paleolithic period. Very easy question. Okay. While highlighting their art forms, it means you have to specifically highlight the art forms. Okay. This is known as directive. Whenever any question is asked by UPSC, they'll give you a directive like describe, explain, critically examine, justify, state, etc., etc. Your answer structure will depend upon this. Describe, explain, these are the easiest directive that you can get in any of the question. So you have to describe the significant features. So what are the significant features that we see in the Paleolithic age? Can you tell me? What are the significant features which we see in the Paleolithic age? That you have to tell me. Like we see refinement in the technology of tools, okay, evolution of human being, diversification of settlements, okay, their subsistence, economy. So these will become your subheadings. Whichever significant features you know about the Paleolithic age, these will become your subheadings. Okay. In the beginning, you'll just write an introduction. Introduction will be about Paleolithic period. Okay. What can be the introduction that you can think of? Like the easiest one can be timeline based introduction, which will be like this. The Paleolithic age was from 2 million years ago till 10,000 BC. Okay, and this is the longest age, and we see the evolution in various art forms as well as your change of nature of subsistence. तो जो भी हम इसमें आगे लिखना चाह रहे हैं उसको वहाँ पे mention कर सकते हैं. This can be the way you write your introduction. Okay. Second, you have to mention the significant features. So which all features you can think of, you have to mention here. Okay. You have to also mention about their society, whatever features that we know. We had discussed that also. So these all will become your subheadings. Within this, you are going to mention few points. Plus, you can also mention the sub-categorization of Paleolithic period, like into lower Paleolithic, middle and upper. That you can write in the beginning itself. So we have just brainstormed and we came up with these various significant features. One features over which they want specific analysis, that is your art forms. So in the end, in the second part, first you will describe this second. In the second art, you will talk about the art forms. Okay, in the art forms, which all art forms do we know? Some of the paintings of the Bhimbetka. Second, like auditorium cave also we discussed about, ostrich, eggshell paintings we discussed about. So all those you are going to merge under the subheadings of various art forms of Paleolithic people. Are you able to understand what is the question? Okay, what will be the introduction, the subparts, how to make it, and finally you have to go for conclusion. So in the conclusion you will talk about how Paleolithic age, when we see the end of Paleolithic age, we see the change of the period from Pleistocene to Holocene, and this led to the transitions toward Mesolithic age. That can be a, whenever you write conclusion, just try to connect the theme with the next course of change. That was the change towards Mesolithic, which will switch to the human society toward domestication of animals. Okay, so all the online students, please just take 15 minutes. In ancient India, the questions, if you will see, they will either come of 15 marks or 20 marks. In 15 marker, you have to write 3 pages. How many pages? 3 pages. For 20 marker, we have 4 pages. So this much content you have to write at least. Habit बना लो. Introduction लिखो एक. All the significant features that you know, and then finally the art forms, and last would be conclusion. Can you draw a map in this? Can we show some important sites from where we have found those artifacts? Like when you're just showing art forms, Patne can be shown from where we found ostrich, eggshell. Okay, like within the Paleolithic period, we have the evolution of human being, where we can show Hathnora also. Okay, so from Hathnora, what evidences we have found? Similarly, yes, Hathnora बता सकते हो. Tools के लिए we have some specific industries like Nivasa, Luni is there, Pesara is there. Can we make a map of India and show these different things which we are mentioning in different parts of our answer? Can we do that? अब 15 मिनट लीजिए और initial answer लिखिए. This is your first answer. Be happy about it. You are just going to learn in the frequently in the new classes. लिखना चालू करो. And please एक काम मत करना कि बस बैठ के brainstorm करके 4 पॉइंट लिख के बैठ गए. ठीक है? This is not how you learn answer writing. हैंडआउट से पढ़ लो बेशक से, मुझे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. हैंडआउट पढ़ लो बेशक से, एक बार 5 मिनट लेकर रिवाइज कर लो व्हाट ऑल पॉइंट शुड बी देयर, देन एटलीस्ट राइट. ओके, बिकॉज नेचुरली विदाउट बुक्स भी आपको लिखना पड़ेगा व्हेन यू हैव टेस्ट आफ्टर 2 वीक्स. तो फर्स्ट टेस्ट में क्या करोगे, है ना, लिखोगे तभी तो समझ में आएगा कि हाँ व्हाट आर द चैलेंजेस इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू, हाउ मच इंफॉर्मेशन विच वी डिस्कस यस्टरडे, डिड यू रिवाइज दैट और नॉट, कितना रिटेन हुआ. So all those things depends upon your answer writing. Okay. Good afternoon to all the online students. Please just write your answer. एग्जैक्ट कॉपी पेस्ट नहीं करना हैंड आउट, है ना. आंसर राइटिंग का मतलब क्या होता है, यू हैव टू राइट इन योर ओन वर्ड्स. यू कैन नेवर रिमेंबर literally everything which is given in the handout. So just remember the important things. हेलो, shall we discuss? कितना टाइम हो गया? बचे हैं 2 मिनट. Prashancha, so Prashancha, just type your introduction. What introduction you have written? Okay. Those of you who are done, just tell me the introduction. क्या लिखा introduction में? ठीक है. So you are saying Paleolithic age is old stone age, plus it can be divided into 3 parts. Okay. So you're just mentioning the overall timeline. This is one way of introduction. Okay, it just defined that Paleolithic age is old Stone Age. Okay. Yes.
Time span of roughly 2 million years. It was the longest of all the anthropological time periods within which humans evolved significantly.
Okay, very good. So what he has done, he is just talking about the overall importance of the Paleolithic age. So this kind of introduction is known as, please write it down somewhere, context based introduction, where you're specifically hitting on the context. Okay, this is what it is. Okay, take out your handout, page 1. Some events are mentioned here, है ना, which led to the importance of the discoveries, है ना, and eventually the cataloging of the Paleolithic tools. लिखा हुआ है यहाँ पे. If you mention this directly, this will become your event based introduction. You can write it down somewhere, how many types of introduction can be done. Okay, how many types of introduction we can do specifically. See the first introduction. If you use the name of historians specifically, then it will become historiography based introductions. Okay, so introductions can be of multiple types. जितना आप लिखना चाहो लिख सकते हो. The most useful would be definition. But when we are at the basic level, so maximum of you Stone Age को बताओ ये न्यू स्टोन एज है या ओल्ड स्टोन एज है, यहीं पे स्टार्ट किया होगा. So for the earliest level, it is definition. The best methods would be a mixture of two. Like you mention the context and then you mention the historian or the event. So two things can be managed also. Okay, in the introduction. Normally keep your introduction from 4 to 5 line in 15 marker, not more than that. Like some of you have written a paragraph, full paragraph. चलो पूरा introduction लिख देते हैं. That is not going to work. Okay, so you can use different kinds of introduction. Like here you say Les Mesolithic, or if you use the significant event with respect to Robert Brucefoot that he found a hand axe at Pallavaram led to the eventual understanding of Paleolithic age in India along with research. Okay, so that is an event based introduction which you can do. You can do that also. Okay, but for doing so you have to remember various facts. अगर बिना फैक्ट्स के तो कैसे लिखेंगे उसके बारे में. The easiest one is this, that Paleolithic age is also known as Old Stone Age. It is further subcategorized into 3 parts, etc. etc. ये लिख के छोड़ दिया, ये फर्स्ट वाला. ये जब यूज करना जब और कुछ नहीं आता हो. When you don't do anything else, then you have to use the definition based introduction. इसी के साथ में आप मर्ज कर सकते हो टाइमलाइन, है ना, the rough timeline of the Paleolithic age, it's from 2 million years ago till 10,000 BC. तो आपने वहीं पे mention कर दिया along with the definition. This becomes the easiest form of introduction. Like if I ask you introduction on Mesolithic age, so you can say चलो ठीक है, Mesolithic age is known as the Middle Stone Age and the time period is from 10,000 to 8,000 BC. तो आपने वो लिख दिया. This is the easiest one. Context में अगर आप जाओगे for Mesolithic, अभी हमने पढ़ा नहीं अच्छे से, बट बात करेंगे. Like suppose that the Mesolithic age saw the transition from Pleistocene period to the Holocene period, and these climatic changes led to further improvement with respect to the human societies, tools, etc. etc. as well as increase in the aesthetic art. वो आपका कैसा introduction हुआ? Context based introduction. So this is how you can learn doing multiple introductions for the same question. One exercise which you have to do, please write it down. In the initial, अभी आप लोगों में से जनरल स्टडीज का आंसर राइटिंग कितना लोग कर पाते हैं? 2 3, मतलब आप लोग कर रहे हैं रेगुलरली, ठीक है. तो इफ यू आर डूइंग इंट्रोडक्शन वहां पे तो आपको फिर ये आसान लग रहा होगा, ऐसा कोई बहुत डिफिकल्ट नहीं है, ठीक है. बट एन इजी एक्सरसाइज वुड बी, एक ही क्वेश्चन के लिए 2 से 3 इंट्रोडक्शन लिखने की कोशिश करो. व्हाई? द मैक्सिमम अमाउंट ऑफ टाइम वेस्टेज इन व्हाइल राइटिंग आंसर वुड बी फॉर इंट्रोडक्शन. अभी हुआ होगा, क्या लिखूं? या तो हुआ होगा या फिर ये पहले वाली अप्रोच पे चले गए होंगे. बिकॉज कंटेक्स्ट बेस्ड इंट्रोडक्शन लिखने के लिए ओवरऑल अच्छी अंडरस्टैंडिंग होनी चाहिए टॉपिक की, देन ओनली यू कैन डू द कंटेक्स्ट। और इन दोनों के लिए तो आपको ये रट्टा होना चाहिए। अगर इवेंट लिखना है तो पता होना चाहिए ना स्पेसिफिकली कि दिस डिस्कवरी लेड टू दिस, और यू हैव टू रिमेंबर द नेम ऑफ द हिस्टोरियन, देन ओनली यू कैन यूज। ऑलराइट, so this is something which is very important। आप 2 इंट्रोडक्शन कम से कम लिखना चालू करिए फॉर द सेम क्वेश्चन। दिस विल इंक्रीज योर स्पीड इन राइटिंग introductions, which will be very helpful later on। Don't do this exercise indefinitely, do it for next 1 to 2 week only, not more than that। You'll realize कि okay, you'll get the hang of it, क्योंकि how to do the introduction of any answer। This is the first rule of answer writing, you have to learn how to do introduction। I hope it is clear to all of you, okay। Prashancha, I have seen your introduction, it is roughly what we have shared। Leena, I am seeing your also। So roughly same kind of introduction has been done by them also। Definition plus timeline दोनों को मर्ज किया, ठीक है। अब बाकी आप देख लो, this is for you। Anyway, the next thing, yesterday we discussed this, that in paper 1, please remember it for history optional, paper 1, you have to mention the, how many of you mentioned sources? 1 2 3 4, very few। बाकियों ने क्यों नहीं लिखा? What was the reason? Is it so obvious? So please remember how the sources, okay? Like if this is your answer copy, this is the question, write introduction here, 3 to 4 lines, okay? Here you can mention, you can make a box and you can write the sources। Here you can mention 4 5, okay। If you don't want to make it a part of the direct answer writing, अब यहाँ करो, यहाँ से you can start with the significance। Yes, please, somebody was asking question, या वैसे, हाँ। So you can mention your sources on this side, this will look very neat and clean, okay। This will look very neat and clean कि already or sources have been mentioned, okay। So what are the sources which we have for the Paleolithic period? Okay, so we have some burials also, yes, some structural remains, okay, then rock art, bones of both humans as well as animals, that is there। Next, stone tools, very good, different categories of stone tools we have found। What else? Burial हो गया, ठीक है। So these are the sources that we have। Do not mention pottery, little bit of presence of mind, है ना। Mesolithic में only few sites have pottery, and Neolithic it has become a general feature। So for Paleolithic we are not going to write pottery in the sources। इतना ध्यान रखना पड़ेगा कि कई बार बस एक बार रिदम पकड़ ली, ये लो 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 कितने सोर्स चाहिए, I have all of them। That should not happen। थोड़ा सा दिमाग को यूज करना है, कभी कभार मतलब जल्दबाजी में हो जाता है गलती। So you have to remember, so you have to mention the sources। Second important thing for all of you, first we discussed is introduction। So while doing introduction you have to bring a little bit of diversity। Like suppose if you're writing 5 to 6 answers in a test, है ना, in paper 1 how many question maximum you can attempt from ancient India? Only 6। First question is math, 50 marks gone। At max you can do 2 more questions and they have 3 subparts, so maximum how many questions can we do? 6। If you are writing this definition and timeline based introduction for all 6 of them, what will it look like? बेवकूफ समझाएगा हर किसी के लिए। अशोका आया, अशोका ruled from this to this, he was a very good ruler। This should not happen। So we should learn the context, we should learn in some we have some events, so we can do that also। If for some we remember the specific historians, we can use them also। But right now I'm not teaching you to use this because इसके लिए पहले आपको थोड़ा पढ़ना पड़ेगा, उसके बाद आप इसको संभाल पाओगे। This is the easiest one। It's okay if you use it for next 1 week, no problem। Afterwards थोड़ा सा change शुरू करना पड़ेगा आपको, ठीक है। So first thing introduction, I hope it is clear to all of you। We have to bring diversity in introductions। Second, sources, very important, okay, but don't assume that the person knows everything, ठीक है। Third, now we have to shift towards the main theme of the question, that is the significance of Paleolithic age। in which we can have various kinds of subheading. Like I made one subheading, then I wrote 2-3 points subheadings. We had already created some subheadings. They were like this. So under every subheading we can write some points. Okay, like initially we can even subcategorize. That Paleolithic age can be subcategorized into 3 if we have not written this in the introduction. अगर इंट्रोडक्शन में ये कहानी लिख दी है तो फिर वापस अंदर नहीं लिखेंगे. Is that clear to all of you? Okay, that subcategorization. Then you can talk about society, tools, the changes in the evolution of human being, the various settlements. So when you write settlements, you can just separate it out. Okay, this is for lower, middle and upper. Only two sites, more than enough. Here you can even mention about factory sites and habitation sites that can also be written in the settlements. So that we write. And finally, after we finish all these subheadings, on the next page, like you can devote 2 pages for this. We'll be left with 1 page. So here we can write art forms and we can write 2, 3, 4 points, whatever we have. We can even make a map. We can make a map on some part of the sheet and we can show all the sites that we discussed, that you can show that also. So that will become part of your innovation. That you have drawn a map. Here you have drawn a chart. So 2 parts of that. Okay, significance is there, and then final would be your conclusion part. So here you will write the conclusion. In conclusion, like I have discussed, you can always talk about transition. How the Paleolithic age eventually, because of the change of the climatic condition from Pleistocene to Holocene, shows a transition towards Mesolithic, which will further lead to refinement in technology, settlements, as well as your subsistence economy. Like we'll shift from hunting and food gathering towards domestication of animals. So you're just presenting that transition in the conclusion. Okay, so this is how you write answers. This is the basic level of answer writing. अभी हमने पहला आंसर लिखा है. Now it's थोड़ा 1-2 क्लास के बाद में थोड़ा सा इंक्रीज होगा. I hope this was clear to all of you. सारी इंफॉर्मेशन आपके हैंडआउट में थी, बस उसको यूज कैसे करना है, that is something you have to do. Just see page number 1. From here you could have chosen any of the introduction. Please just mark it down कि हाँ यहाँ से हम introduction choose कर सकते थे. Then classification of the Indian Stone Age was also given. ठीक है. You could have even made a chart. This chart can you see? Lower, middle and upper. You can mention their tool types. लास्ट वाले का कोई रेलेवेंस नहीं है, सब्सिस्टेंस तो तीनों का ही सेम है, तो वो लिखने का जरूरत नहीं है. ठीक है. देन सम मेन फीचर्स ऑफ पैलेथिक एज, जियोलॉजिकल एज, टेक्निकल, फैक्ट्री साइट, ये लिख सकते हो. नेक्स्ट पेज पे लोअर, मिडल एंड अपर. लाइक फ्रॉम लोअर मिडल में एक ट्रांजिशन दिया हुआ ना, दैट द स्पेसिफिक स्टोन्स है ना, दे शिफ्टेड टुवर्ड्स चर्ट एंड जेस्पर. सेटलमेंट्स आल्सो शिफ्टेड. तो द ट्रांजिशन यू कैन शो इंडिविजुअली इन द पॉइंट्स. ठीक है. टाइम पीरियड सबको अलग अलग लिखना है, टाइम पीरियड अलग, रॉ मटेरियल अलग, सबको अलग अलग हेडिंग्स के अंदर लिख सकते हैं. You come to the next page. Here you can find the Paleolithic art and cult. Society is all information is also given. So all those points you had to include. Now another important thing, like suppose you did all of you did answer writing today. Okay. तो जो आपके ने आंसर लिखा, अगर आपने अच्छे से लिखा, this will also become your short note. From all these 5-6 pages which we have discussed, this is the only question which can be made roughly. तो आपकी short note बन गए साथ के साथ में. So make only one notebook for आंसर राइटिंग so that you can eventually revise it. It should not happen like this कि रोज आप एक अलग पेज पे लिख रहे हो या पेज पे लिख रहे हो, तो you should have a bundle, उसके अंदर उसको फिक्स करके रखो, so that eventually when you want to see कि what is the level of my answer writing, you can see कि हाँ, next time when you'll see, you'll always be like यार ये तो बहुत बेकार लिखा है. This will happen for next 2-3 months because your answer writing levels will improve if you write regularly. Okay, so this is how you write answers. Man, please mention sources. Without mentioning sources, will not have very good answers in ancient India as well as medieval India. This is a permanent part of this. Focus on introduction, the different styles of introduction which can be done. Okay. Always think. This is the brainstorming. Like when you see a question, you see कि हाँ ठीक है कितने parts बनेंगे. इतना तो सबको पता है, इंट्रोडक्शन, बॉडी स्ट्रक्चर और कंक्लूजन, 3 पार्ट तो परमानेंट है. बट विद इन बॉडी स्ट्रक्चर हाउ मेनी सब हेडिंग्स कैन बी क्रिएटेड, दैट यू शुड नो, दैट यू शुड ब्रेनस्टॉर्म. ओके, जल्दी से देखा, हाँ ठीक है इसमें ये पार्ट होगा, अंडर दिस आई कैन पुट वेरियस information. Okay, can I make some chart, can I make some map for this? That will also, you should think consciously. जितना कॉन्शियस होकर काम करोगे उतना जल्दी आपको समझ में आने लग जाएगा. सो आई होप द आंसर राइटिंग पार्ट इज इजी फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू नाउ. ओके, एक दिन में आएगा नहीं, इट विल टेक सम टाइम, बट यू हैव टू ब्रेक द इनर्शिया. ओके, इवन आफ्टर माय डायरेक्शन मैक्सिमम लोगों ने एक आधा पेज लिखा होगा. इफ आई स्टार्ट चेकिंग, है ना, अगर मैं देखूंगा तो लगे समझ में आ जाएगा मुझे. एंड दिस इज व्हाट यू शुड बी केयरफुल अबाउट. प्लीज डोंट टेक इट लाइटली. योर होल रैंक डिपेंड्स अपॉन आंसर राइटिंग. प्रीलिम्स पास करोगे फिर कहाँ जाओगे? मेंस. इन मेंस व्हाट विल हैपन? व्हाटएवर यू नो यू हैव टू राइट ऑन अ पीस ऑफ पेपर. तो वो इंफॉर्मेशन को वहां पे जॉट डाउन करना आना चाहिए. इफ दैट इज नॉट हैपनिंग देन इवेंचुअली आप ये स्किल नहीं सीख पाओगे. जस्ट बी रेगुलर फॉर नेक्स्ट 4.5 months, एवरीथिंग विल बी इजी. ऑलवेज लर्न कि व्हाट इज द क्रूशियल पार्ट ऑफ द आंसर राइटिंग. सो आई होप इंट्रोडक्शन समझ में आया कैसे कैसे कर सकते हैं. कंक्लूजन में थोड़ी और वैरायटी लेके आ सकते हैं धीरे धीरे, बट ये थोड़ा सा टॉपिक ऐसा है यहाँ पे कम कनेक्शन बनते हैं, तो इसलिए जो हमने डिस्कस किया आई होप मोस्ट ऑफ यू वर एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड इट. यस प्रशंसा, यू हैव टू राइट इट इन 3 pages. ओके, तने मैप के अंदर सोर्सेज मत लिखो, उसको चार्ट में यूज करो. ओके, अदरवाइज वहां पे फिर अच्छे से डिपिक्ट नहीं कर पाओगे. Now today we have to shift towards Mesolithic period. Any doubt, anyone? Yes. तीन पेज में देखो हमें स्प्रेड आउट करना है. हाँ, 3 pages. For 15 marker you have to write 3 pages. So on the first part जब आप introduction लिखोगे, then you'll write sources, then you'll go for classification. At least 3/4 of that page is over. Okay, for the next आप significance में सब division कर दो, तो वो आप पूरा एक पेज ले लो उसके लिए. ठीक है. And on the last page you can talk about the art forms. You can draw a map also, and finally you can go for the conclusion. This is how you can utilize your 3 pages. Okay. Okay, so now we'll discuss 2 important things. One, with respect to Mesolithic, it is about the beginning of domestication of animals. With respect to Neolithic, this is the beginning of agriculture. So these are the 2 important topics for today. Let us start. So this is done. Answer writing हमने कर लिया. We'll shift to this art. Mesolithic art is very important. UPSC has asked a question in general studies in 2015. Okay. तो इसलिए इम्पॉर्टेंट है. बिगिनिंग ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर, देन द ओवरऑल न्यूलिथिक एज. सो द स्टोरी कंटिन्यूज. यस्टरडे वी डिस्कस द एवोल्यूशन ऑफ ह्यूमन बीइंग. वी आल्सो डिस्कस द मैनर इन विच द स्टोन टूल्स वर रिफाइंड. ओके, नाउ देयर विल बी फर्दर रिफाइनमेंट इन लाइफ. लेट अस ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स ऑफ द सेम. ओके, नाउ बट बिफोर दिस देयर इज वन फंडामेंटल क्वेश्चन. यस्टरडे आई वाज डिस्कसिंग दैट प्रीवियसली ऑल द हिस्टोरियंस एंड आर्कियोलॉजिस्ट दे यूज्ड टू गो फॉर ओल्ड स्टोन एज एंड new stone age. Why did this Mesolithic came in between then? Why it was recognized? What's the reason for this? Okay, so we have to understand what is the level of this transition. What is the requirement? Okay, so this is known as the period of transition, as certain advancement can be seen with respect to stone tools and early domestication of animals. All right, and not fully developed until the beginning of Neolithic era. So we'll try to understand what form of transitions were there, and this can be a probable question also from the Mesolithic period, which we'll discuss later on. Anyway, all of you remember the important sites for Mesolithic period. What are those? Like Chopani Mando, Sarai Nahara is very important in Uttar Pradesh. Okay, then ये सब तो आसपास में है. Pesra is in Bihar. Lagnaj is important. Last year's paper when we were solving in the map, it was Lagnaj. Bagor is important. Okay, Sanganakalu is important. All right. So these are the important sites from where UPSC can ask in their map. All right. So when it comes to transition, we have to understand on what basis transition is going to happen. Like if we see tools, there is a shift from tools which were created in Paleolithic, which were on the basis of core, flake and blade. These were the three technologies which were being used, and this shift transition we see towards microlith. This is just remember the transition. With respect to tools, we see it was towards microlith, and towards the Neolithic will further shift towards celt. Okay, tools with handles which were polished in nature. So if we just see only transition, here we have core, flake and blade, microlith, Mesolithic, then shift towards celt tools. This is where we have to focus. How? Okay, this is the transition. We are just talking about transition, then we'll go into the rest of this. If we see settlements also, okay, so here Paleolithic sites we find from majority of the Indian subcontinent, alright, but here because of the change of environment, the only remaining areas like Gangetic Valley, we see large number of settlements like Sarai Nahar Rai, Damdama, Mahadaha, all of these we find in Gangetic Valley. And then here if we see with terms to settlements, we see further widening like Northeast India. We see important sites from Northeast India like which one? Daojali, Hading, Sarutaru, Marakdola, all these settlements. So they further widened to all the corners of India. So settlements also wide. So here also we can see as a transition. Okay. Third, here we were dependent upon hunting and food gathering. Then we shifted toward domestication of animals. And here we'll see the beginning of agriculture or domestication of plants. So you can see some form of transition can be seen in the Mesolithic age with respect to many areas. It can be technology of tools, it can be settlements, it can be even the basic subsistence of human being. In all these three we see transition during the Mesolithic and then further shift towards the Mesolithic, Neolithic. Okay. Other than this also we have certain areas like if we see in Paleolithic, okay, in Paleolithic we were not having any kind of house, we were only residing in the cave shelters. During the Mesolithic we have some artificial homes, okay, and by the time of the Neolithic we see complete transition towards villages, okay, in which the human communities were residing. Okay, इनको एक बार note down कर लो पूरा. Like if we see in terms of houses, we had natural cave shelters. Here we see certain artificial homes which has been created. Example can be found from Bagor, and then we shifted towards houses made of wattle or mud houses, and that too within the villages. Okay, here the humans, they were completely nomadic because they were dependent upon hunting and food gathering. You have to go from one place to another. When you shift towards animal domestication, then some certainty of food comes in. Okay, so that's why it became sub-nomadic. But once we see the beginning of agriculture, we see sedentary lifestyle, staying at specific places. That's why this whole phase is the phase of transition. So the first thing which we are trying to understand, how Mesolithic age became an age of transition. That's we're trying to understand. There can be a direct question on this. Okay, आज तक कभी question आया नहीं है, neither from Paleolithic nor from Mesolithic. This is one standard question, okay, which can come. कि how the Neolithic age or how the Neolithic and the Paleolithic or the old and the new Stone Age have a transition in the Mesolithic age. So you have to show all three. तीनों को combine करके लिखना पड़ेगा, and this will become your subheadings: stone tools, settlements, subsistence economy. ठीक है, उसकी हेडिंग बन जाएगी. नेक्स्ट में आपका बन जाएगा हाउसेस, लिख सकते हो उसमें, और लास्ट में क्या कर सकते हो, लाइफस्टाइल के बेस में. इट वाज नोमैडिक, सब नोमैडिक एंड शिफ्ट टुवर्ड्स सेडेंटरी लाइफस्टाइल. सो दिस इज हाउ यू कैन क्रिएट वेरियस सब हेडिंग्स. ओके, फॉर आंसर राइटिंग क्रिएटिंग सब हेडिंग्स इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर ब्रिंगिंग आउट द मैक्सिमम आउटकम. ओके, whoever is going to see your paper can easily see, हाँ ठीक है, ये 4 पार्ट बहुत अच्छे से लिखा हुआ है. अगर आप बड़े बड़े पैराग्राफ में लिखोगे, it will be difficult for them to find out every single information which you have written. That's why your answer writing style should focus on creating subheadings in general studies as well as your optional. दोनों में ध्यान दो इस चीज पे, ठीक है ना. इससे आपको क्लैरिटी भी बहुत अच्छा दिखता है, and it's easy to write answers also, because in paragraph we often leave one or the other fact, but when we have subdivisions in the different categories, अच्छा खासा हमारा आंसर बन जाता है. So I hope this one thing is clear to all of you. The main reason why Mesolithic period was recognized by the historian and the archaeologist, because it was the age of transition, even though it has the lowest, है ना, सबसे छोटा है ना इसका time period, it is of hardly 2000 years. Let us see. Okay, now वही transition यहाँ पे दिख रहा है. Like the Mesolithic culture is found at all ecozones. Okay, from the coast to the hills, sand dunes, rock shelter, delta, lake area, forested territory, mountain area, rock terrain, as well as coastal environment. It means the settlement, they were increasing during the Mesolithic period, and the major reason for that was the change of environment because of the beginning of Holocene era, which was mostly about a warmer one. Numerous sites which we have discussed. Okay, then the tools are known as microlith. Microlith are the tools. The standard size is from 1 to 5 centimeter. This is the specific size, and they are mostly used as projectiles for hunting and food gathering. This is the main purpose of these tools. Okay, we have found rock shelters as likha here, in addition to already the famous one Bhimbetka and Adamgarh. So this is the geographical spread which you can see is in majority of the part of India. Next, the overall environmental changes. Okay, we have already have an idea about it. This is the time. Okay, with the end of the upper Paleolithic period, we see that the ice age, okay, the ice age was now going to slow down, and the climate will become warm and rainy. This will also be important. Why? Because if the conditions are going to become habitable for human, their population is also going to increase, right? Naturally. अब आप देखिए, those people who live in hilly areas and those who live in the plain areas, where is more population density? Plain. So wherever we have hospitable condition, the population is always going to be more. The same situation happened here also. That's why when we were talking about the Paleolithic era, we talked about band society. In the Mesolithic period, we see the beginning of community life because the population increased. This is also one of the transition. We have band society, community, full-fledged villages. Okay, so that interaction between the human beings was bound to increase because there was rise in temperature and it became warm, dry and humid. And we see various soil samples like Birbanpur is a very famous site in West Bengal, from where we found the evidences of this. Okay, then the climate is brought about changes in flora as well as fauna. The environment around you is also bound to change. See the diversity of the plain, see the diversity of the hilly areas. So wherever we change the geographical setting, the environment is going to up and down. The flora and fauna is also going to change along with it. That's why the expansion of flora and fauna due to increased rainfall in few areas, availability of new resources to human, okay, reduction in nomadism, क्या वो थोड़ा सा कम हो गया from before, okay, to seasonally sedentary settlements. All of you know there are some tribal people who mostly जो होता है कि during the summer season they go to the upper heights, है ना? So they are seasonal nomadic, सिर्फ season में जाते हैं. Alright. And as the climate became favorable, they started domestication of animals also, because the animal population will also increase, because whenever the for life, for the whatever form of life form we have, if we do not have good climatic condition, it's very difficult to survive. If we have thousands of degrees of temperature, only bacteria like this, only they can thrive. And we as humans require this hospitable climate. Okay, and at that point of time, we were not having today's advanced technology, clothes, etc., that we can survive in sub-minus regions. It was not possible. That's why the change of environment was very important for us. And this is also an important transition. These are the different categories of tools which we found, known as microlith. Okay? Important thing in this was, some of these microlith, like this is what I told you, it was 1 centimeter to 5 centimeter roughly. This was the same. Plus, their industry was divided into geometric and non-geometric. This is one feature which you can remember for microlith. है ना? Even in the map classes we discussed this, geometric and non-geometric. वहाँ भी हमने बात किया था. All right. Like you can find these various shapes, triangles, rhombozoid, trapezoid, unit, various kinds of shapes you can find in these tools. That's why geometric and non-geometric industry can be found during the Mesolithic period. Let us move forward. Okay, so ये बहुत सारे तरीके के tools हैं. They are part of this. Now, what would be the usage of tools? Mostly the usage of tools would be same, which we were discussing even in the previous class. ठीक है? So let us see क्या क्या इसमें use है. Spearheads, arrowhead, knives, daggers, sickles, even poison was applied to some of them. है ना? Like we have found evidence of war from Sarai Naharai. People must be fighting. We have found one microlith used as a dagger. चाकू की तरह उसको use कर लिया. And a man was killed. So person is buried. और वहाँ पे हमें ये मिला. ठीक है? Some form of burial system also started during the Mesolithic period. In Paleolithic हमें ऐसा burial system नहीं मिला. But in Mesolithic we have found some form of burial system. And by Neolithic system this became a standard kind of thing, that whenever a human is going to die, that person should be buried. But the only problem was they were buried in and around their own locality. Specific areas were not made for that. That will happen later on, which will become part of the civilization. Okay, so they were used for making sickles for harvesting some sort of plants, but the plants were not domesticated mostly. Okay. Just see your handout. Page number 6. Just read it. एक बार इसको पढ़ लो. Prashansha, in handout number 1, we have Mesolithic itself. There is no separate handout for that. Just see the introduction part. It's the period of transition. Okay, better stone tools, early domestication of animals were in the early stages and not fully developed until the beginning of Neolithic era. And environmental changes, which we have just discussed about, rise in temperature, climatic changes brought changes in flora as well as fauna. So everything was changing at the same time. This is something which you have to recognize. Plus, if you see the Mesolithic tools, they are known as microlith. Various forms of shapes were given to these tools. Crescent shape like moon. Okay. Then triangles, rhomboids, etc. Different kinds of shape were given. They were made from materials like quartzite, chert, chalcedony, jasper, agate, etc. These are the various tools, okay, which made from these material. And finally, you can see the usage of these tools. So they were used for different purposes. Okay. So I hope this much is clear to all of you. The next is habitation. So in habitation we found some different level of sedentariness. So just not like Paleolithic, where men were roaming from one place to another all the time in search of food. At this point we say permanent or semi-permanent settlements. So in between. Okay, so semi-nomadic is the word which we can use for it. And we see new ecological niches because of increase in population. So population also increased. Band society in Paleolithic, increase in population leading to community life. And finally, the last one, we see the settled villages. And the population will further increase. From some places, we have even found evidence of pottery. Okay, pottery has not been found from all the new Mesolithic sites. Please remember that. Langnaj is there, okay, as well as from Mirzapur. But as a general rule, pottery is absent at most Mesolithic sites. These kinds of statement are important in your prelims. In mains, ऐसा कुछ relevance नहीं है, but prelims में आप याद रखना. When difficult questions will come, such things will be asked. Okay, what they will say Mesolithic pottery is absent in all Mesolithic sites. Would that be correct or incorrect? Incorrect, because we have examples. But if they say generally pottery is absent at Mesolithic site, would that be correct or incorrect? Correct. बस ये language differentiation समझ लो, prelims में बहुत help हो जाएगी. ठीक है? These are the nuances which are very important. Then this is how we see community interaction. How do we get to know community interaction कैसे start हुआ? So for that we have certain places where the tools have been manufactured and then they have been taken to various other places. This is how we see that manufacturing site अलग है और habitation site अलग है. दोनों एक दूसरे से जगह travel कर रहे हैं. So we see different parts of subcontinent movement can be seen. Alright. So factory site are there at the source of raw material. जहाँ raw material वहीं पे factory होगा. ठीक है. Then Mesolithic tools have been found north and south of Ganga are made of same kinds of stone. This is the example which you have to remember for the community interaction. Okay, north and south we found same kind of stone, and it indicates whether either the raw material or the tool themselves were moved across the river. So this is something which you have to remember. तो देखो फोटो ऐसा ही कुछ लगाया हमने, इतना अच्छा तो नहीं होगा, ठीक है? But anyway, this is how the things were changing. Like here we can see Sarai Naharai, Damdama and Mahadama. They have to travel around 75 to reach the stone resources of the Vindhyas. So this is how the community life is now beginning, where the people are migrating not for the sake of just food, for the sake of also tools. This is the community interaction which you are talking about. Okay, so they may have even interacted with early agriculturists who lived in their neighborhood. Okay, because Mesolithic period has not started at every place at the same time. Similar is the case with Neolithic. There are different time periods in which at different places we find the beginning of agriculture. Like the early centers which is going to be Koldi Hawa, then Mehergarh, Lahore Deva. But many sites the agriculture will start later on. This is one thing you have to remember. In whole of India, the same age is not going to begin on the same single day. On different dates, we are going to see the beginning of them. And we talk about Mesolithic economy. Okay, so we see very same hunting, fishing, food gathering. One important addition was domestication of animals. At some of the places, we found some rudimentary level of agriculture also. Like Chopani Mando, beginning of settle can be seen. Okay, the research is shows some beginning level ka. All right. Domestication of animals, as you have already seen, you can remember the examples like Adamgarh and Bagor provide the earliest evidence of domestication of animals. We have to remember these facts because if a question comes with respect to transition, तो आपको ये लिखना पड़ेगा. You can show it even in the map also. Okay, animal bones have been found from various Mesolithic and testifies the claim of domestication of animals. All right. So this is the certain change in their economy. the most important thing about Mesolithic period is their art forms. This is the most important thing, and this is what was asked by UPSC in 2015, that Mesolithic period depicts beautiful paintings, okay, which even have aesthetic sense and are comparable to the modern form of paintings. So we have to understand the characteristics of their painting, okay. But before understanding them, we have to understand how many places are there in India from where we found different kinds of paintings which belong to Mesolithic period, okay. या फिर ऐसा तो नहीं ना एक बार 10,000 BC खत्म हुआ, everybody becomes romantic, painting शुरू करते हैं, ठीक है, new hobbies are coming up in life. So this is the time. So you see how many sites are there? 150. Remember this fact. We have around 150 sites from where we have found different kinds of paintings. All right. Then these sites can be, the most famous is Bhimbetka, then Lakhajuar, Jawara. This you can remember. You can remember 4 or 5 sites. Reason being, when we will give the examples of different kinds of painting, you have to remember the site. Otherwise, we example कैसे लिखेंगे? Okay. Like if you're talking about the painting of boar, you can remember Bhimbetka. But if you're writing about dances, you have to mention Lakhajuar, because this painting we have specifically found from this area. So you have to remember at least 4 or 5 sites for the sake of writing a different answer. Otherwise, तो आप लिख ही दोगे हाँ, these are the various themes. Okay. We also found these sites in Odisha as well as Uttar Pradesh as well as Kerala, different places. So Mesolithic paintings saw the first use and modification of early caves for the paintings and engravings on large scale. Some of them may belong to Upper Paleolithic, but majority belong to Mesolithic art. That's why UPSC also asked from here. Let us see what all are the characteristics. So the question is, can these paintings be used for understanding the culture of Mesolithic period, and to what extent? Can we get some understanding of these people? कुछ तो पता चल जाएगा. Let us try to understand. Okay. So what do we found? Animals are the predominant motifs. In majority of the paintings, you are going to find this, like polychrome boar. Polychrome meaning multiple colors. That's it. Then we found bull from Zaura. Okay. So maximum what you will find, these motifs belongs to animals. All right. It means they were having an important part of the culture of Mesolithic people. All right. Primarily due to the role they played in subsistence economy. So yes, through paintings we can get one thing very clear: the domestication of animal has started, and their role has increased in the life of the people. Like we find mythical boar. Okay. Then hunting. Large number of paintings that depict hunting, how people are hunting eventually. All right. So they are, and within this, some people they have mask. At the time of hunting also, they have shown different graded of people. Those who are very popular or those who are very influential, they are wearing mask. So that's why there is some differentiation in the society which can be seen. Okay. Not everybody can afford jewelry. You understand this? Not everybody can afford jewelry. That's why those who are having jewelry, it means they are some privileged people. So this is how, by seeing the material characteristics, we try to differentiate between the people of a tribe. कि कौन influential होगा और कौन weaker होगा. Like you see here, they are adorned with ornament, necklace, etc., etc. So this shows that hunting becomes important and somebody is giving certain kind of direction. कोई तो दे रहा है उनको. Food gathering. This is also a theme. Food gathering. People are going and they are gathering food. Okay. Next, domestic we have covered. Dressing pattern. Different types of clothes. Okay, or different types of representation, not specifically clothes. So this is what is important. Okay. We see accompanying even by dogs. कि pet भी शुरू हो गया. ठीक है. बोलते ना, the oldest friend of humankind is dog. तो वो शुरू हो गया. From the Mesolithic period, we can have it in the paintings. Then dressing pattern. Man wear loin clothes made of leaves. Okay. And women, their hair is loose, women is braided. So different kinds of dressing patterns can be seen. Then differentiation based upon status. This is what I talked about. Some figurines, they are broad and decorated. Like suppose if we are a tribe, those who are influencing, मेरी फोटो अच्छे से ले, बाकी सबका एक बारी में ले लेंगे. ठीक है. This is what is going to happen. है ना. होता है ना ऐसे, जो तुम्हारा अच्छा दोस्त उसके आराम से लेते हो. बाकी सब एक साथ. So this same thing may have happened to them also, कि जो सबसे इन्फ्लुएंशियल है उनकी अच्छे से फिगर बनाया, हाँ ठीक है क्या है क्या नहीं, बाकी सब मैच स्टिक की तरह 1 2 3 4 5 एंड ऑफ स्टोरी. This we found. Alright, so some figure broad decorated with geometrical design, and from their attitude they seem to represent men of authority. Next you can find some masked dancers also. Okay, some masked dancer can be found. Okay, they may represent doing some kind of rituals, because as all of you know, rituals are something which are very, you can say, intricate before the humans. Hand, fist, fingerprints, etc. have also been found. So they may have some kind of auspicious occasions also. So all this cultural life we can understand on the basis of their paintings. Try to remember them. They are already given in your handout. Just have a quick revision of this. How the cultural life, okay, the cultural life can be understood on the basis of this. Ajinkya is asking a very good question. कि sir, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, do we have any evidence of worship? ठीक है. Now it is on the basis of only interpretations. Like we have found, like suppose if today you found a linga from Paleolithic period, what will you say it is? Shivling. So our today's current is going to project a picture which will come up with an interpretation. Same thing has happened. Like from Bagor, we have found a kind of mother goddess shrine. हमें वहाँ से मिला है, ठीक है. But that is more important in today's context. But when we went for ethnographic studies, ethnographic means the life of tribals of the nearby region, हमने उनको जाके देखा, they also worship in the same manner. So it means that is a symbol of worship. So this is how interpretations are there. Final conclusion कुछ नहीं है हमारे पास में. This is something you have to remember. इतना cultural life समझ में आया? First was animals, the role of animals in the life of the people, predominant motive. Second, hunting, food gathering. Next, domestication of animals. है ना? We see that how the dogs, they are accompanying their masters when they are going for hunting. Dressing pattern, differentiation based upon their status. किसी की अच्छी पेंटिंग बन रही है, किसी को सिर्फ साइड में खड़ा कर दिया फोटो के कॉर्नर में. This we can find. Masked dancer. Not only this, other than this also there are so many things which we can see, like division of labor. In some of the paintings we found men as hunting and women they are gathering food. This is nothing but this is division of labor which has been done on the basis of gender. Defection of dance, different kinds of dance form. Now these are the kinds of painting. ठीक है, अब पता नहीं समझ में नहीं आ रहा कि अभी कैसे बनाया है, but this is how it is. Mesolithic tools, some of the figurines they show people with weapons, so we are able to understand, okay, these people are using some form of weapons, that you can also understand. And finally, even some other parts of social life, that some paintings are showing childbirth, some are showing some kind of sexual activities, some are showing how the newborn they are reared. Okay, so all form of social life can be seen from their paintings. So if you want to understand the cultural life of the Mesolithic people, you can always see these paintings. So I hope you can remember these 6-7 points. If a question is going to come in the optional, ऐसा ही question आएगा. ये आपको सब headings याद रखना है. Along with the subheading, just few examples. I hope that is clear to all of you. Second comes a very important part. Okay, so ये सारा paintings है, देखो themes अगर आपको समझ में आ जाए कि how they are feeding a pig and preparing food, खाना बन रहा है. Next, fishing scene, फैमिली सीन है, रात को बैठ के पूछ रहे पढ़ाई करते हो कि नहीं करते हो, हाँ, या सिर्फ एडमिशन लेके बैठ जाते हो. दिस इज फैमिली सीन गोइंग ऑन, बात कर रहे हैं, चलो खाना खाते खाते हैं. हंटर विद बास्केट फिल्ड विद एनिमल्स, दिस इज अनदर थीम व्हिच वी फाइंड. पॉलीक्रोम बोर्ड हम देख लिया था. हंटिंग सीन ऑफ डिफरेंट काइंड्स व्हिच यू कैन सी इन दीज पेंटिंग्स. ओके, बुल ये भी देख लिया था हमने. ऑलराइट, now come to the second part which is mentioned in your handout. Aesthetic sense. What is the meaning of aesthetic sense? Recognition of beauty, है ना, recognition of beauty कि हाँ मतलब ये सुंदर लग रहा है. This is what aesthetic sense is all about, how something should be. So can we have some idea about the aesthetic sense of these people by looking at these various paintings? देखो क्या क्या चीज उन्होंने यूज किया. They have roughly used 16 colors overall. Okay, 16 colors. It means they were conscious कि अच्छा ये पेंटिंग कर रहे हैं तो I am going to use this color. Alright, like whenever we do painting of humans, हम mostly कोशिश करते हैं ना कि या तो white color हो या फिर थोड़ा सा yellowish color हो to show their skin. This is aesthetic sense. अगर उसको हम पूरा कुछ और ही color use कर देंगे complete red तो पेंटिंग लगेगी क्या? It will not be there. So this is how they have used multiple colors for different kinds of painting, which shows their aesthetic sense. Second, variety of painting. Some are single color, some are multicolor. So that also shows कि okay, they were aware about हाँ कैसे अच्छा लगेगा. Third, brush materials. Different kinds of brush materials. आपको पता ना अलग अलग टाइप का ब्रश आता है. So for them it was very difficult. So what they were using? Twigs, brush made out of squirrel tail, animal fur, etc., etc. Different kinds of things which were available. They started making brush on the basis of this. Some of them they are very different kinds of painting, like X-ray style, which shows even the inner organs. So this is known as X-ray style painting. Okay. Next is use of imagination, like the boar, Bhimbetka. It is not found, it is just the imagination. Like for humans, we have this unicorn, imaginary animal, reality mein to nahi hai. So this is nothing but this is imaginative kind of painting. Okay. Next we find coexistence of paintings with gravings. Engravings means on rock they have scratched to make it look very appealing. Okay. Enigmatic paintings. So कुछ paintings ऐसा उनका समझ नहीं आ रहा है. So they have been called as enigmatic paintings, है ना. जैसे आपने देखा होगा ना कुछ पेंटिंग 5-5 करोड़ 10-10 करोड़ का उनका ऑक्शन चल रहा है और आपको देख कर मैं 2 रुपए ना दूं इसके लिए. Those paintings are known as enigmatic painting. ठीक है ना. मॉडर्न आर्ट जो पता नहीं कौन करता है, हमें तो नहीं आती. So such kind of abstract painting which do not have obvious meaning. फिर आप बैठ के देखते रहो, people are looking at the stars or stars are looking at you, etc., etc., all this. मुझे नहीं आता होता interpretation. Finally, depiction of youthfulness. Many paintings they show young boys, children learning, dancing. So this is shows depiction of youthness. So this also shows a form of aesthetic sense कि भाई ठीक है youthfulness को distinct तरीके से we are going to paint. So these are the various. This was a specific question which was asked by the UPSC. तो हमने उसके कुछ points बना के आपके handout में डाल दिए कि in the future if they ask same question in your optional, so you will have enough points to write a very good answer. ठीक है. Can I give you one question? घर से लिख के ले आओगे? Just write it down. It's a very basic question. Here I have used the directive highlight. Previous में हमने क्या use किया था? Describe. Okay. Highlight the essential features of Mesolithic art. Very easy question. Highlight the essential features of Mesolithic art. 15 marks. Yes. In what sense we have to connect? हाँ, टूल्स में तो देखो आसान समझने में ट्रांजिशन, जैसे अभी ट्रांजिशन में बात किया था ना, लाइक दिस कोर फ्लेक ब्लेड टेक्नोलॉजी. हियर वी हैव माइक्रोलिथ, हियर वी हैव cell tools, tools with handles, settlements mostly in and around cave shelters. Then we see even in the Gangetic Valley, and finally we see the widening to the whole of the India, including your northeast area where we have very less settlements in Paleolithic and Mesolithic period. Next, hunting and food gathering, domestication of animals, shift towards agriculture. This is just same जो भी समझा था हमने. Next points और कर सकते हो. Here we lived only in the natural caves like Bhimbetka. Some form of artificial homes can be found at places like Bhagor. Here we have full-fledged houses made of mud or wattle and daub. We remember these words which we use in the map. Nomadic to semi-nomadic or sub-nomadic, and finally we have his sedentary lifestyle began. है ना. इवन इन टर्म्स ऑफ फूड यू कैन सी कि अगर आप एग्रीकल्चर पे जाओगे तो योर डाइट विल शिफ्ट फ्रॉम प्रोटीन टुवर्ड्स कार्बोहाइड्रेट, राइट. तो वेजिटेरियन क्या होता है, कार्बोहाइड्रेट, एंड दोज हु ईट द मीट इवेंचुअली देयर डाइट इज रिच इन प्रोटीन. तो वो उसको भी लिख सकते हो शिफ्ट में. तो 6-7 पॉइंट अपने पास बहुत है. बाकी यहाँ पे एक और लिख सकते हो सोसाइटी के लिए. वी हैव द बैंड सोसाइटी. हियर वी सी बिगिनिंग ऑफ द कम्युनिटी लाइफ, एंड हियर फुल फ्लेज्ड आपकी विलेज लाइफ बन गया, जिसमें इंटरेक्शन रीच्ड इवन फर्दर लेवल. सो दिस ट्रांजिशन यू कैन रिमेंबर. बट ऐसे क्वेश्चन आने का थोड़ा सा पॉइंट थोड़ा कम रहता है. यूपीएससी मोस्टली व्हाट दे डू, they ask 5, 6, 7 map sites directly from the stone age in the map portion. तो इसकी एक वेटेज है, क्वेश्चन में नहीं आती, कहाँ पे आती है, मैप साइट्स पे आती है. तो 15 मार्क्स आपके इसके ऊपर ही डिपेंडेंट रहेंगे. तो आप मैप अच्छे से करोगे तो वहाँ ऑलरेडी, इसलिए यहाँ पे इसके ऊपर क्वेश्चन आता ही नहीं है. ठीक है, डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन यहाँ से आता नहीं है, बिकॉज मैप्स में पूछ लेते हैं, है ना. स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम न्यूलिथिक पीरियड ऑनवर्ड्स यू विल फाइंड क्वेश्चंस इवन इन योर पीवाईक्यू. पीवाईक्यू में अभी तक कोई क्वेश्चन ही नहीं मिला होगा, क्या बस रख दे दिया हमें, क्वेश्चन ही नहीं है अभी तक. अभी क्वेश्चन नहीं है, आगे आएगा आपको. ओके, another transition which you can see is funeral practices. Okay, this is also the some difference which you can find. So the graves that we have found, but we were able to make the dead bodies, they were put in west to east direction, and in some cases they were even the opposite, east to west. All right, with grave goods such as ritual associated with death, like suppose when these people used to bury the dead people, so whatever things belong to that person, they were put along with that. This is a belief, means the person may require them in the next life. So a belief in the afterlife can be seen on the basis of the grave goods. Next, the presence of grave goods is indication of belief in afterlife. Jewelry found on the body suggests a custom of adorning the body before burial, okay, and may indicate high ranking individuals. Only those people who can afford it could have them. Poor people cannot have jewelry in their burials. That's why some sort of differentiation in the society can be seen during the Mesolithic period, which will further increase. Look, देखो क्या है ना, सोसाइटी में अगर आपको डिफरेंसेस कम रखने हैं तो क्या चीज नहीं होनी चाहिए, प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी. ठीक है, बट ये प्राइवेट प्रॉपर्टी का कंसेप्ट शुरू कब से हुआ? ठीक है, अगर हम हिस्टोरिकली देखेंगे तो इट विल स्टार्ट मोस्टली फ्रॉम महाजनपदा पीरियड. ठीक है, वैदिक में उतना डेवलप नहीं हो पाया था. ठीक है, बट इसकी जो एक ट्रेस कहाँ से शुरू हुई, इट स्टार्टेड फ्रॉम एग्रीकल्चर. पीपल वांट more and more field under their control so that they can have more production. So once we shifted from Mesolithic to Neolithic, तो जो power centric चीजें हैं वो तो change होनी ही है. Even you see today also the political center of India may be Delhi, but the political power eventually कहाँ reside करती है? In the villages. Okay, it reside in the villages. 2/3 of the votes of India कहाँ है? Rural areas. And that is also dependent upon agriculture. So agriculture is from where? Once agriculture started, now people want land under their control. और इसका evolution होते होते, because for Indus Valley we have no idea if private property was there or not there, so we cannot comment. But in the Vedic we do not see in the text specifically. But starting from Mahajanpada period, we see the development of the system of private property. There were some landowners like Gahapati. Gahapati is the word used for them. Okay, so this is how it began. This we have already covered, the aesthetic sense of Mesolithic, the multiple colors, variety of painting, brush, abstract and realistic, imagination. Okay, all these points are already covered. This is an abstract painting. अब इसका कुछ meaning समझ में नहीं आ रहा है. This we have found from a place known as Jaora. Abstract painting. देख लो अब. Some say it is showing the time machine going towards the other part of the universe. Some say something else, some say something else. But whatever it is, we are not able to understand the real meaning of this. Okay? Now the main thing, why do people paint? What is the reason for this? ये हम already discuss कर सके. It means they wanted to express their creative urges. It could be for decorating their own homes. Okay, अपने घर को करने के लिए, ठीक है? To tell some stories. Okay, memorable events in their life. Like हम भी करते हैं ना, आज मेरा birthday photo खींचो, tag कर दो. All those things. So they used to do this. Okay. Others could have been connected with some form of rituals, fertility, etc. Or even just a form of human creativity. Okay, more time, because now they were becoming, like, one thing which is very clear: if you are moving from one place to another continuously, the time that you have for art is always going to be very less. But if that is reduced, if you are at least living at one place for some specific time, you can start painting, है ना? That creative urge is always going to increase. क्योंकि एक जगह रह के इंसान बोर हो जाता है. If you are traveling around the world, टाइम का पता भी चलेगा? नहीं पता चलेगा. सुबह सुबह उठते हैं, एक ही जगह रहते हैं, एक ही जगह खाते पीते हैं, तो वो कुछ तो करने को चाहिए, तो पढ़ाई शुरू कर लेते हैं, ऑफिस शुरू हो जाता है. इफ यू आर ए नोमैडिक पर्सन, कुछ नहीं है, ना आपका ऑफिस है ना कुछ है, नो बाउंडेशन ऑफ एनी काइंड. सो वंस वी शिफ्टेड फ्रॉम पैलेलिथिक टू मेसोलिथिक, this is what changed. Since people are now more sedentary from the previous period, they started using their creative energy specifically for the paintings. Vishnu Vakankar, I had told you previously. So Vishnu Vakankar was the personality who had discovered the Bhimbetka. Okay? Similarly, we have one more famous prehistorian from France, Jean Clotes. So he also says that this is just the beginning, where the prehistoric art is getting the due recognition, but there are so many arts which has not been discovered even till today. So he is just remarking, by we should try to discover more, and we should try to have more better preservation of such sites. Okay, as all of you know, only those who know about these things, okay, are going to preserve them. For the everyone else, if somebody is colonizing a specific area which has some cave, what will they use? They will use it just as source of raw material. So preservation कैसे होगा? So that's what Jean Clotes talks about, that we should try to preserve such art and try to understand it so that we can have more information about the Mesolithic period. Okay, so this is just a passing reference, not a question as such, just a general discussion. Okay. Anyway, let us move forward. Now comes the most important part of the human lives. Okay, so far we were dependent upon the outside. Okay, we were dependent upon the hunting, we were depending upon domestication of animals. We could not store produce for a long time. Like today, all of us are sitting here for what reason? Because we have surplus of agriculture, we have surplus of food, okay, which is available at a specific price. That's why we can move from one place to another. But if suppose if that thing is not there, still what we would have been fighting for? We would have been fighting for basic necessity. And as all of you know, it is easy to preserve cereals than preserving meat. Okay, so once we started this agriculture, the things become relatively easy. And for doing agriculture, you have to stay at the same place. You cannot just move from here to there. Okay, at least for the specific, when you are going for sowing seeds, watering, you have to stay at the same place. Then you may relocate, but at the time of harvest also you have to come back. That's why once we see the beginning of agriculture, this was going to change everything for the world. That's why one of the famous archaeologists, V. Gordon Childe, he is from Australia. He has written a famous book, Man Makes Himself. In this, he has discussed the concept of Neolithic revolution. Because once we see the beginning of agriculture, the problem began how to store it. So we require some utensils. So we see the development of pottery. Okay, once we begin with agriculture, we had to settle down. It led to the beginning of villages. Okay, Once you have settled down, you have more time, you will indulge even more in the art and craft. Like pottery is also one of them. Some decorative form of pottery is a part of art and craft. The pottery was made on the wheel. So once we have wheel, as all of you can see, all the transportation systems of the world, they are based upon wheel. So wheel is a very revolutionary invention, okay, which we can see. So there we see the invention of wheel also, which further widen trade and commerce. Now people go from one place to another because they have wheel, and they can easily make a cart. So wheel became very important. That's why, because of all these development, where we see the beginning of agriculture, pottery, settlements, villages, art and craft, wheel, trade and commerce, the word used by him was Neolithic Revolution, because this was going to change human history for the next, you can say, millennia, until we see the beginning of urbanization. Okay? So agriculture was something which was very important. Without this, we could never be free. We will always be struggling for food. So this solved the biggest question which was in front of the humanity, agriculture. So we'll look into that. All right. But before going into that, we have to first understand the challenges. How can we transition? How can we transition from hunting to this agriculture? What were the challenges in front of us? Can you think of that? One was lack of knowledge. We were not having specific knowledge how to go for agriculture, not aware of the agricultural sciences. Okay, this was the first major roadblock. Second, even if you have some kind of idea how to specific perform it, so technology was also limited for us. Knowledge भी कम था. If knowledge is less, naturally the technology is also going to be weak. Okay, then changes in lifestyle. Before you want to transition into agriculture, you have to also change your lifestyle. You cannot move from one place to another all the time. You have to go for a settled kind of life. This was another challenge. And finally, depending upon crops. So once you shifted from livestock to your agriculture, and suppose there is a crop failure. There is a crop failure. So this is how dependence on few crops was going to become risky. And if somebody is thinking in those terms, whenever the crop failure there, it leads to famines, etc., which we'll discuss a lot in the modern India. But this is something which we have to understand. There were certain challenges in front of us. All right. Now, agriculture is something which did not just have origin in India. Even before India, we see some different areas in the world where we see the beginning of agriculture. All right. Like you can see, even in the Middle East, okay, even in China, India also, all right, even in these island Pacific, South America, even in the North America. All right. So agriculture is something which was going to begin in the whole of the world. And there are two theories with respect to this, which we have to understand. All right. There is one word which is often used. It will be used even in Harappan civilization. That is known as diffusion. Indigenous. Try to understand. This is very conceptual. What is the meaning of diffusion? Means, in simple words, it could be just like this. People were migrating from one place to another, establishing agriculture and then moving on. So in this way, agriculture, it got diffused in whole of the world. These are the theories of diffusion. Similar kind of theory of diffusion will be used for Indus Valley also. That Mesopotamians were having the urban culture, and then they shifted to in Indian subcontinent. They created Indus Valley civilization. So all these theories which says that एक बार ही start हुआ है, फिर सारे लोग क्या हुआ है, they've learned from the specific place. This is the theory of diffusion. When we say that no, this is an independent development, we say it is indigenous. Okay, it is indigenous. So there are various theories with respect to कि भाई diffusion है, indigenous है, but largely we consider all these areas to have indigenous agricultural centers. This is something you have to remember. ठीक है? Diffusion का मतलब क्या होता है? The technology has gone from one place to another. Indigenous means natural development at the same place. Okay, like for Indus Valley civilization also, the most accepted theory, it is an indigenous evolution. It is not from the Mesopotamians. Similarly is here also. Some say people will first go for agriculture, फिर South Africa, फिर India, ऐसे करके घूम रहे थे इधर से उधर. So this theory is known as theory of diffusion. Right. So one fact you will remember, agriculture developed in various parts of the world and that too independently. So there were various centers of agriculture. अभी अब timeline देख लो, ठीक है? At different places like West Africa, Levant, India, इंडिया के अंदर भी आप देखो गंगेज में, नॉर्थ चाइना, साउथ चाइना, देयर इज डिफरेंट टाइम पीरियड और विच वी सी द बिगिनिंग ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर. इट्स नॉट दैट एट एवरी प्लेस वी सी एट द सेम टाइम, है ना. ये स्केल आपके पास है लगभग. तो इंडिया में मोस्टली जो हमारा कट ऑफ टाइम है, इट इज रफली अराउंड 6000 BC के आसपास है. ठीक है. एट मेनी प्लेसेस लाइक कोल्डी हवा, मेहरगढ़, इवन लाहौर देवा, इट इज रफली अराउंड 6000 BC. At some of the places we even found example till 15,000 BC. Okay, so this is something you have to remember, that in India the majority of the beginning of the agriculture, it is roughly around 6000. वो एक कट ऑफ डेट की तरह आप याद कर सकते हो. Alright, then once we see the beginning of agriculture, okay, there were different kinds of impact, differentiation in labor force. Okay, naturally those who are having more capacity, they have to go into the field. But this is how the men started thinking about the crops, and women, they started taking hold of the houses. Second, change in the gender roles also along with this. Third, social hierarchies. Now those people who have more production, they become more powerful overnight, right? Previously कुछ मतलब नहीं था agriculture का, but once the technology comes, those who have this technology will become rich people. Alright, so social hierarchy will be developed. Growth of settlements, population growth, because now we can support more population, and the other way around, for agriculture we require more number of people. That's why also we need population growth. And finally, social organization. With the period of time, these will be created. So this was the impact of the agriculture. Impact can also be seen on the diet, shift from protein to carbohydrate. Okay. लाइफ में ये भी चेंज हो गया हमारा स्पेसिफिकली. वंस वी सी द बिगिनिंग ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर, वी ऑल्सो सी द बिगिनिंग ऑफ फर्टिलिटी कल्ट. एज ऑल ऑफ यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड, इफ यू आर डिपेंडेंट अपॉन रेन, इफ यू आर डिपेंडेंट अपॉन सॉइल, इफ यू डिपेंडेंट अपॉन ऑल दीज नेचुरल एनवायरमेंट फॉर योर सर्वाइवल स्पेसिफिकली, है ना, बिकॉज एग्रीकल्चर डिपेंडेंट अपॉन ऑल ऑफ देम. दैट्स व्हाई you will always think going towards worship of fertility. That's why mother goddess, okay, that's why mother goddess are going to become chief deity by the Chalcolithic and the Indus Valley civilization. Both show same kind of characteristics. So even the overall idea of God is going to shift towards fertility cult once we see the beginning of agriculture. This is something which is important. Okay, now please take out your handout number 2. Bhavya, this is the map. Okay, just read the introduction part. Yes, ये कोई नहीं बता सकता कि पहला सीड कहाँ से आया था. अभी उसके ऊपर एक डिबेट है, अभी पढ़ेंगे वही कि एग्रीकल्चर स्टार्ट कैसे हुआ. यस, बाहर रखा हुआ था ना यार, तो ले आओ. रुको एक मिनट, बैठो बैठो. देखता हूँ बचा होगा तुम लोग. सेकेंड हेड आउट है, एक कॉपी दो, पहुंच ही गए वैसे। Just read the introduction. Okay, Neolithic period is the final division of the Stone Age and mark the cultivation of plants and domestication of animals. Domestication which will start in Mesolithic, which will eventually mature by Neolithic period. It will become a common habit. Okay, this term Neolithic was first coined by Sir John Lubbock. Okay, you can remember it. He used this term to denote an age in which stone implements were skillfully made, more varied in form and polished in nature. The tools are known as cell tools. Cell tools. Okay. Next, there is always a debate that was there an evolution or a revolution. There is always a debate. Okay. So, what is the meaning of revolution specifically? First of all, there should be sudden changes. Okay. And these changes should be fundamental in nature. When we are talking about 8,000 to 1,000, इसको देख के सडन तो लगता नहीं है कि it would happen overnight or at least in 1 year, 2 year, etc. If we see from human life scale, geographical life scale के लिए तो बहुत छोटे सा चीज है, billions of years. Okay, but if we see from our life scale, so it doesn't look, है ना? Yes, fundamental all of us can understand, because we shift from domestication of animal to agriculture. That is fundamental. Along with this, so many new changes, wheel, etc., etc., etc. So, what is often seen as an concluding remark that the changes were revolutionary in nature, but Neolithic period was more of an evolution rather than revolution. So, only the changes, they are revolutionary in nature, not the whole Neolithic period. Okay, so this is often you are going to study. So, just see in your handout. The term Neolithic revolution was coined by Australian archaeologist V. Gordon Childe. Man makes himself 36. Okay, first in a series of revolutions, calling it to denote its significance. However, today it is believed that the impact was exaggerated in the past and development is to be gradual rather than a sudden change. And this suggests adaptation of agriculture was the result of small and gradual changes. देखो even till today that the question is asking कि सर पहला सीड कहाँ से आया ये बताओ, ठीक है? एग्रीकल्चर स्टार्ट कहाँ से हुआ? What is the specific area? Impossible to tell. We can always tell these are the areas where agriculture started. ठीक है? अब एक इसके ऊपर पूरी full fledged debate है कि why human shifted from domestication of animals to agriculture. Okay? अब देखो, even if you are thinking about it, doesn't mean it's going to happen. There must have been some specific circumstances in which agriculture became successful. तो वो हमें समझना है. Over that we have 4 theories. 4 theory है हमारे पास में, ठीक है? The first comes from V. Gordon Childe itself. He says there were environmental changes. सबसे आसान है जब भी कुछ समझना है. There are environmental changes which led to the development of agriculture. ठीक है? दूसरी theory आई. This said there was an increase in population. When there is an increase in population, what do we want? We want maximum food. So we couldn't sustain on domestication of animals, so we had to shift to agriculture. Third person came up with some more references. ठीक है, तो वो हम उसको पढ़ेंगे अब अच्छे से along with the person who have given those theories. So a debate specific question, this is the first debate which you will find. Naturally we have large number of debates in ancient India. Debate means there is no specific conclusion that we have over this. ठीक है, एक चीज थोड़ी सी ज्यादा अच्छी लगती है दूसरे से, बट फाइनल कंक्लूजन इज नॉट देयर. So this is given in your handout. Just see the next subheading, main features of Neolithic period. I hope this is easy. Beginning of agriculture, further mature of the domestication of plants and animals, pottery, as well as use of polished stone tools. So these are the features. Let us see why transition to agriculture. See the first theory. The first theory comes from V. Gordon Child. Whenever you have to write the opinions in debate specific question, you have to remember specifically. याद करने पड़ेंगे key terms. अगर हम उनको याद नहीं करेंगे तो we'll write random, and that will not fetch you marks. So that's why wherever we have opinions of historians, try to remember exact to the point it is possible. Let us see the theory. Just read with me. This theory maintains that climate got drier due to Atlantic depression. We have already seen that, है ना, कि we shifted from Pleistocene to Holocene. ठीक है, so that's what he is saying. It got drier due to Atlantic depression, shifting northward. Community contracted to oasis. So what he is saying? Oasis, all of you understand? है ना, क्या होता है? हाँ, डेजर्ट में स्पेसिफिक एरियाज, है ना, जहाँ अल हबीबी होता है. We have oasis. Anyway, where they were forced to into close association with animal. You have to remember the exact story. If you will not remember, कुछ भी लिखोगे. So what he is saying? First important thing, change in environment because of Atlantic depressions. Second, people migrated towards oasis. Third, where they interacted with animals. Alright, यहाँ तक समझ में आया? Which were then domesticated together with planting of seeds. पता चला आपका seeds? Together with planting of seeds. This is the theory given by V. Gordon Child. ये अपने को याद रखना exactly. लोग देखो आप खुद से हम क्या बोले, ठीक है. Now there is a limitation in this theory. Can you point out the limitation? Robert J. Braidwood said that environmental changes have happened so many times, then why did not agriculture start then? ऐसा कौन सा oasis आपके पास where agriculture started? It's a good question, right? Environmental, you are saying environmental changes happened because of Atlantic depression. People went toward the oasis. There they had interaction with the animal. They started domesticated them and then planted the seeds. ये बहुत अच्छी story है. You tell me कि environmental changes can happen many times. Why not then agriculture started? Okay, see the next one. So that's why the first theory has some limitations. So we shift towards second personality. The second personality we have is Robert J. Braidwood himself. Okay, Robert J. Braidwood. Just see his theory. Read with me. So he said agriculture began in the hilly flank of Taurus and Zagros mountain. ठीक है, एक specific area इन्होंने पकड़ लिया कि यहाँ पे start हुआ है. Then he said where the climate was not drier as Child has believed. So he is countering V. Gordon Child. So naturally जो उन्होंने बोला उनके against तो जाना ही है सबसे पहले. And fertile land supported a variety of plants and animals amenable to domestication. Now see the keyword. Keywords are very important. First important keyword is the Taurus mountain. Second, he said there were certain nuclear zones. Nuclear zones. देखो nuclear zone कैसे define किया? Which supported a variety of wild plants and animals, where the flora and fauna both were in wide variety. Those are known as nuclear zones. Okay. In such areas, domestication was a natural outcome of the third factor. The third factor was human experimentation. when you have to remember these theories on any specific topic, break them down to some specific keywords, try to remember them. So अगर हम 3-4 लाइन में बात करें, so what was said by Robert J. Braidwood? He said it started around Taurus Mountain, which was a kind of nuclear zone because of the wide variety of plants and animals, and domestication started because of human experimentation. This is the point of view of Robert J. Braidwood. Let us see the limitation. Okay, it cannot be archaeologically tested. मनगढ़ंत कहानियां चल रही हैं इनकी भी, ऐसा हो गया होगा, वैसा हो गया होगा. Okay, so this can also not be tested. We come to third theory. Third theory comes from Lewis Binford. It comes from Lewis Binford. So इनकी theory देखो. He says it was because of demographic change. Okay, he defines demographic change also. He says demographic change can be of two types. It could be internal, it could be external. A very easy example is in the case of India, the demographic stress is internal, खुद ही population बढ़ रही है. In case of America, it could be external because of immigration. Okay, so he says the agriculture started because of the demographic stress, but then he points out specifically it happened because of external demographic stress. Okay, he says because of external, there was immigration of people in some specific areas which led to the beginning of agriculture. This is said by Lewis Binford. Just see in the handout, he argued that at the end of Pleistocene era, okay, all of you now understand the Pleistocene era, okay, as a result of rise in sea level, people started living along the coast. They migrated to less populated inland areas. Like just if we see the example like South India, like if sea level is going to rise, naturally these people who are staying in this place, they are going to enter here, so there will be external demographic stress. This is what he is trying to say. I'm just giving you an example. Okay, because of this, the people and food equilibrium, this became upset, and that's why an impetus was given to the food supplies, which came in the form of agriculture. So this is the theory which is given by Lewis Binford. Third theory. But इसका भी देखो limitation है. Migration has not happened only once. Migration has happened on multiple time scale. ठीक है? Just see, evidence of migration to inland is lacking. Also, internal demographic stress may have been a factor in upsetting the food people balance also. But it doesn't make sense to talk about overpopulation and that too in Neolithic era. आज 8 billion है, तब कितने लोग होंगे? ठीक है, तो doesn't make much sense. You're just talking about something. जैसे आज की जो प्रॉब्लम्स हैं उनको हम वहाँ पे मैनिफेस्ट करना शुरू कर दे, क्लाइमेट चेंज, एनवायरमेंटल फैक्टर्स, ह्यूमन पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीज, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा. So these are the three theories which are prominent. Now the first three theory, first by V. Gordon Child, talks about environmental factors. Second, Robert J. Braidwood, he says it is because of the human experimentation. Third comes from Lewis Binford, he talks about it is because of external demographic stress. Both these three theories, okay, they talk specifically about events, that ये हो गया because of this happened. So these first three theory, they are known as event based theories. The last theory is known as process based theory, which doesn't think about कि भाई इस specific event से agriculture start हुआ है. They just said a process is there, if this is followed, the agriculture is going to begin. So the fourth theory, it comes from Kent Flannery. Okay, theory comes from Kent Flannery. And let us see his viewpoint. He shifted the focus from the beginning of food production to the process of food production. Process पे shift कर दिया. Then he said that two types of food procurement system, negative and positive. Two types of system, negative and positive. Okay, negative means balanced exploitation, okay, and use of various resources in area and discourage any change. So negative feedback mechanism, there is no specific change. but in positive means productivity of the resources can be enhanced by the human interaction. So he says it was because of this positive feedback system that we see the beginning of agriculture. Look, many of these things which we are discussing, उनका टेक्निकल एक तरीका है समझने का, हमें उतना समझने की जरूरत नहीं है. वी हैव टू जस्ट रिमेंबर इफ समबडी सेज कि व्हाट वर द फैक्टर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द बिगिनिंग ऑफ एग्रीकल्चर, नीदर यू हैव एन आंसर नीदर me have an answer. Some of the people have tried to explain it through the various kind of theories. These theories can be clubbed under events and process. In the event we have V. Gordon Chang, then we have Robert J. Braidwood, the third one would be Binford is there, and the fourth one is Kent Flannery. नाम याद करने पड़ेंगे, बिना उसके याद नहीं होगा. कीवर्ड्स भी याद करने पड़ेंगे, अदरवाइज अच्छे आंसर्स नहीं आने वाले. ठीक है. सो व्हाट वी हैव टू डू, वी हैव टू से दैट द थियरी कैन बी डिवाइडेड इनटू टू पार्ट्स, इवेंट्स एंड प्रोसेस. प्रोसेस आता है कैन फ्लेनरी, ही टॉक्स अबाउट टू थिंग्स, नेगेटिव फीडबैक मैकेनिज्म एंड positive feedback. Positive feedback mechanism means whenever there is interaction with human, it leads to more productivity of the resources. That's it. Okay, so these are the four theories which we have in front of us, which try to explain the beginning of agriculture. Okay, when it comes to conclusion, जो सबसे accepted conclusion है, that eventually goes to V. Gordon Child. ठीक है. The recent finding says that environmental change were responsible for the beginning of agriculture, but not the way it was told by Child. So Banner he will say वो नहीं था. In many part, Holocene is the beginning of the Mesolithic, was marked by onset milder, warmer and wetter climate. Such led to the expansion of natural habitat area of wild cereals. है ना, ज़्यादा जगह पे like all of you understand this, if climate change is going to begin, तो जिस एरिया में आज wheat cultivation नहीं होता है वहाँ पर भी शुरू हो जाएगा. Because for every crop there is a specific temperature, rainfall, geography में पढ़ोगे ये सारी चीजें which are required for the production. Same thing is being told. Because of the increase in temperature, those areas which were not fit for cultivation eventually became fit. This is what they are telling, and because of the changes in the nature. So such changes may have led to expansion of natural habitat area of wild cereals, which had the potential for domestication, and it is very much possible that different factors may have played different roles in different parts of the world. We cannot highlight only one factor which is responsible for the beginning of agriculture. So this is the first debate of ancient India, which is why agriculture started. So I hope it is clear to all of you. Yes. बिकॉज वो स्टडी कर रहे थे आपका वेस्ट एशिया वाला पार्ट, तो इसलिए उन्होंने स्पेसिफिक उस ओएसिस के ऊपर, जैसे हमने मैप में देखा था ना, दिस एरिया, ही वाज स्टडीइंग दिस एरिया, तो दैट्स व्हाई ही सेड हाँ यहाँ तो ओएसिस ही है, तो अब कहानी बनाओगे तो उसके आसपास की चीजें भी तो होनी चाहिए. ठीक है. सो दैट्स व्हाई ही सेड इट हैपेंड इन द ओएसिस बिकॉज ही वाज टॉकिंग अबाउट वेस्ट एशिया. ठीक है. तो देखो ऐसा डिफरेंट, तो लास्ट में जो हमने कंक्लूजन था वो समझ में आया आपको. Different factors may have been responsible for the beginning of agriculture at different places. अब ये एक डिबेट है, देखो इसका कोई किसी को भी कंक्लूजन अच्छा नहीं लगता, बिकॉज वी एज ह्यूमंस ऑलवेज वांट टू नो द एग्जैक्ट फैक्टर, क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबल था. अब ये मिस्ट्री है, nobody knows exactly only one factor. There are theories, some are more acceptable, some are less acceptable. Like decline of Harappan civilization, we have many theories, and most acceptable is the ecological decline, but we can never say for sure that every city is went down because of ecological decline. तो वो ये more acceptable and less acceptable. Some would be less acceptable, like the Aryan invasion, because time period का gap है अच्छा खासा, है ना, 250-300 साल का. So this is how it is. बहुत जगह आपको आंसर नहीं मिलने वाले एंशिएंट इंडिया में. This is just purely understanding the theories. If they ask the question, write the answer, get the marks, become an officer, enjoy life. उसके बाद में जाना ओएसिस, वी गॉर्डन चाइल्ड से मिलने की, भाई कहाँ एग्रीकल्चर स्टार्ट हुआ था, आई एम बैक, टेल मी नाउ. ठीक है. नोबडी कैन गिव यू दीज आंसर्स, एवरीबडी विल कम विद हाइपोथेसिस. लाइक इफ समबडी टेल्स यू हाउ यूनिवर्स बिगिन, तो भाई ठीक है, माइथोलॉजी का अलग अलग तरीका है बनाने का. ठीक है. बट द मोस्ट एक्सेप्टेबल टुडे इज बिग बैंग थियरी. इट्स ऑल स्टार्टेड विद द बिग बैंग, देन द एक्सपेंशन ऑफ यूनिवर्स, then cooling down, then creation of stars, planets, eventually Earth. Okay? And on Earth also, there are so many phases of evolution. So all of this is just theoretical. Some things have been proven by the science, some remains unproven. But this is the reality. There were multiple centers of agriculture in different parts of the world, and India was one of them. Two kinds of theory can be there: diffusion, second could be indigenous. But what we believe, all of them, they were independent agricultural centers, not borrowing ideas from one place to the, because at many places we found different crops. At Mehergarh we found cotton, at Koldiha we found rice. तब कहाँ तुम इसकी कहानी वहां लगा रहे हो? So that's why we say they are independent agricultural centers. ठीक है? I hope you were able to understand till now. ठीक है? We'll stop here today. I have given you one question for homework. Look, your answer writing has started. Now is the time where we start putting a bit of effort. I hope you can write the answer of this. 15 marks means 3 pages. If you can draw some map in which you can show some 4-5 sites where we found the Mesolithic sites, उसकी drawing मत बनाना बैच के मैच स्टिक करके ये लो ये Mesolithic painting, ठीक है, वो उसका जरूरत नहीं है. You can make a map to show the sites where we have found the Mesolithic paintings. Rest just revise the handout. Okay, because in the beginning we are doing the easiest topics. आज थोड़ा सा level increase हुआ है with the beginning of the Neolithic debate. अभी तक तो सब कहानी चल रही थी, ये हो गया वो हो गया. अब थोड़ा ऐसा थोड़ा complex areas आएंगे, धीरे धीरे करके वो आपका develop हो जाएगा. Like sources when we'll discuss, there also many technical terms are going to come. But tomorrow first we'll finish Neolithic and Chalcolithic, ये finish करेंगे. फिर आगे आपका सेकंड लेवल स्टार्ट होगा जिसमें थोड़ा सा डिफिकल्ट टॉपिक हम स्टार्ट करेंगे. बट आई होप सो फार एवरीथिंग इज इजी फॉर ऑल ऑफ यू. यू लर्न सम बेसिक्स ऑफ आंसर राइटिंग. लेट मी जस्ट re-emphasize some of these things. Like this was the question which we discussed today. Describe the significant features of Paleolithic period while highlighting the art forms. So describe was the directive. Okay, so it means describe is a very easy. Explain कर दो, जो पता है बता दो, कुछ आपसे ज़्यादा पूछ नहीं रहे, ठीक है. This is a very easy kind of directive. The difficult one will start when I'll give you directive, critically examine, etc., all those. But we'll start with the basic ones. So what we did, we have to brainstorm for the body structure, which all points can be included. The basic format for any answer is going to be introduction. Introduction can be of multiple types: definition based, context, event based, as well as historiography based, means the opinion of historians. You can mention that also. Okay, in the end you can always talk about the conclusion also. Please mention the sources. Like if Mesolithic paintings you have to write an answer, mention the sources. Sources, what would be the sources? Sources would be the rock art that we have found from these various sites. तो आप sites का नाम लिखोगे, that is the source itself. ओके, तो इतना करके इसी बेसिस पे आपको ये वाला आंसर भी आप लिख के ले आना कल, ठीक है. हाईलाइट द एसेंशियल फीचर्स ऑफ मेसोलिथिक आर्ट, बिकॉज इफ यू विल राइट एवरी डे तो मेरे को भी इंसेंटिव मिलता है आपको और चीजें सिखाने का, ठीक है ना, कि और चलो और आगे और सीखते हैं. लाइक द सेकंड डायरेक्टिव इज हाईलाइट. हाईलाइट मीनिंग यू हैव टू शो सम की फीचर्स स्पेसिफिकली एंड यू हैव टू गिव सर्टेन एग्जांपल्स along with it. What will happen in the exam, like we have discussed so many specific features of the Mesolithic art, you will only remember the features, not the examples. You will remember, हाँ ठीक है, domestication of animal, but you forget कि हाँ भाई कहाँ से मिला है. You will forget, you will remember, हाँ the multiple colors were used, but you will forget कि हाँ from which place you find these kinds of variation. So that's why it is important you should remember the examples. That gives you authority. That gives authenticity कि हाँ आंसर अच्छे से लिखा हुआ है, पढ़ा हुआ है, बढ़िया. Otherwise you are just making a structure, the content is missing. So make sure you revise it multiple times, twice, thrice, then write an answer. 15 marks, 3 pages. I hope it is clear to all of you. Okay. Online students, I hope you were able to understand all the things. Yes, Bhavya, you can make this map, okay, in debate type questions. One second.